Let me to start with, I think I have to say this, to take this opportunity to thank EXA for the research fund for the generous support. The support is really unique in the sense that it gave us the opportunity and the means to collaborate with the best researchers in the world. So that really makes a big difference for my research labs. Let me start with today the session is about IoT. There are many different definitions of IoT. One of the interesting analogy of IoT is by Bruce Schnell. So he calls IoT the world-sized robot. So it is a robot world-sized. So because we have millions, trillions of sensors, and we have the objects, those sensors are the eyes and the ears of the robot. And they collect the data on us, collect data on the environment. Those data will be uploaded to the cloud, which will perform data analytics, make decisions. So the cloud is essentially the brain of the robot. And the output of the data analytics will be driven to applications. And those applications will in turn to remotely control the actuators, which are built into the objects. So the actuators, in a way, are the arms and the legs of the robot. So I think that is quite interesting analogy of what is IoT. Well, in terms of the architecture, we are saying IoT, we have this typical, the MGC architecture. M stands for the embedded devices. G is the gateway. So those devices which has sensors, etc., collect the data will go through the gateway, which will perform data aggregation and upload them into the cloud. And my research labs, we do, because my research labs on secure mobile computing, we work on different aspects of this architecture. So for example, we have a project to make the embedded systems secure. One of the projects we're working on is, for example, you have an embedded object, for example, it's a surveillance camera on the lamppost. And how do you know the camera is not affected by malware? So that we can perform a platform attestation to make sure that the camera is indeed intact, not affected by malware. And for the most of the research I do, supported by the EXA research grant, is on the cloud, data security and privacy. But that is not the talk today. So my talk today is a bit more general. Talk about what are the risks of IoT and what are the possible countermeasures. Of course, the benefit of the IoT is essentially we have the integration of the cyber world and the physical world. So we can think many examples of how this integration from the cyber world can benefit the physical world. And from the physical world, how to benefit the cyber world. So there are many such examples. I think everybody knows this. One of the big projects going on in China is the so-called social credit systems. So everyone will have certain social credits. Depends on how you behave in the world, in the real world. And those information will be collected, will be kept by central database, and will be made use of. For example, maybe one of the applications can be used for matchmaking services. But of course, there are, for that kind of project, a lot of privacy concerns, right? So security and privacy will be a very big issue. The other example of this integration is Alibaba is currently have the plan to roll out a so-called smart petrol station. So next time when you drive to a petrol station, you don't have to get out of your car. The camera will recognize your car plate, recognize the car model, and a robot arm will add in the petrol fuel. The pay is automatic. Right? So the next year, they're going to build such smart petrol stations. Let me just talk about what are the security risks and the privacy risks. So those are my understanding based on what happened and based on what are going to happen. Right? So we have seen so many attacks in the cyberspace to IoT. I think that the reason, there are 3 reasons for the countless number of attacks and instances. Because the system, first of all, they are not secure. There are too many vulnerabilities. Vulnerability is the weakness of the system. So if there are vulnerabilities, those vulnerabilities can be exploited by attackers, then you have the security problems. We have so many vulnerabilities because of 3 factors. The first factor is we are dealing with very, very complicated systems. The operating systems, there are many layers of the operating systems. The person working on the top layer did not even know what happened in the layer below. So that is this McAfee's law, which says that the number of vulnerability in a software system is in proportional to the square of the number of lines of code in the system. So it's the square to the number of lines of code. Well, if we take a commodity operating systems, how many lines of code? 6 million lines of code, Microsoft Windows, right? So the vulnerability is in proportion to the square of lines of code. So that is one reason for us to have so many vulnerabilities for the system. The second reason is we also have so many legacy systems exist. Those systems were designed a long time ago when security was not a concern. So the system is still part of our internet, part of the cyberspace. Those systems can be attacked very easily. The third reason for having vulnerabilities is that we do not have enough competent security professionals. We simply don't have enough. Yesterday, we had some discussions with our EXA, some of the staff in charge of IT security. I think they're very, very good, very impressive in terms of their expertise and professionalism. Back to the lack of security professionals. Those professionals is not only the ones doing the research, right? Including the ones who are doing the system design. You have probably a secure system design. And the person who is doing the implementation may make mistakes, right? And from there, you have the system deployment, operation, maintenance, etc. So along the chain, we all need very good people to make our systems secure. So for those 3 reasons, we have many, many vulnerabilities, and those can be, some of them has been uncovered, many more have not been uncovered. So that's why we have to patch our systems regularly. Well, back to the IoT, the attack surface is even bigger, simply because of the distributed nature of the systems. You have so many sensors, billions of them, and they're all very low cost, right? Very low cost. So how do you add in security in such devices? That is a very challenging problem. There are many risks for IoT, and in my view, those 3 types of risks are the ones are receiving a great attention. The first one is unauthorized access and misuse of IoT devices because they are low cost. They don't have any security measures. The second one is the risk to human safety. So in the past, if we only have the cyberspace, we don't have to worry so much about the human safety aspect. So any cyber attack is always affecting the computer systems, affecting the data. But with the integration of cyberspace with the physical space, and any attack can have an impact on human life, can have an impact on the environment. Right? So the third part is effect to other systems, including the IT systems and also including physical systems. So for each one of the risks, I have a couple of examples, and some of them are familiar of, some of them you may not be familiar of. Let me start with the unauthorized access to and misuse of IoT devices. So this is reported in July 2017, the family in Washington. And the parents discovered that in the midnight, somebody is talking to their toddler through the monitoring systems using disturbing languages. Right? Then they reported to the service provider. Service provider says, oh, that most likely somebody hacked into your baby monitoring system. Right? And is controlling the system using a mobile device. And we know the last year and the mid of last year and also the end of last year, there were two big attacks, so-called mirror attack, and which affect many IoT devices, which caused the DNS system malfunction and availability of the DNS systems, and many websites as a result was down for quite some time. The risk to human safety, we are seeing this, two researchers did experiment, and they found out, they want to find out how easy it is to manipulate medical devices. So what they can do is that, for example, drug infusion pumps can be remotely manipulated to control the amount of dosage to the patients, right? And in the 2013 Black Hat conference, one of the researchers is supposed to give this presentation to show how to manipulate somebody's pacemaker. But unfortunately, just before the presentation, he met with a tragic accident, this researcher. He did not show the demo. And this is probably also well known. Hackers remotely control a jeep on the highway, can force the car to stop off-road. And in the recent IEEE Spectrum, there was an article showing an experiment. This professor and his team, they used the GPS simulator on the shore to slowly take over a GPS satellite, so that the boat is navigating based on the GPS because of the attack, because of using the simulator of GPS simulator, can force the boat off the navigation path. Right? So just imagine if you are driving a driverless car. The car depends on the GPS systems, and if the GPS system is hacked, then you will be in big trouble. Right? The scary thing is that for GPS, for civilian applications, we don't know how to make it secure, because you don't have the secret code. You cannot apply cryptographic techniques to protect the integrity of such signals. Well, for the third category of attack, this is an experiment I did with my student. So we started this so-called low frequency control. It is a closed loop control systems. Has been used in almost every electrical generator to maintain the stability of the frequency, of the electrical frequency. So if the frequency is off by 2 hertz per second, sometimes it can cause big problems, can cause equipment damage, can cause the stop of the electricity production. So what we did is, this is not an experiment, not a real test, because we do not have access to the electrical generators, but it is a simulation. With simulation, we use the public system parameters available to simulate as real as possible to the real systems. So the results we found out is quite surprising. So what we can do in this attack is, in the closed loop control systems, you just slightly change the input signal a little bit. For example, you delay the signal a little bit, but the delay is within the margin, within the delayed margin, and do a little bit other manipulations on the signal. We can very quickly, in a few seconds, to drive the electricity frequency into divergent. So that it just can cause a big problem to a smart grid. Well, so what are the solutions? I mean, no one will be able to give you a formula that says, oh, this is the solution, right? I think it's more or less, we have to follow certain security principles. Well, one of the principles, I think, is the so-called security by design, right? And security is always a trade-off between how secure it is and usability and the cost. Is, in a way, it's very similar to Paul has mentioned. We have this trade-off between privacy and utility of the data. Right? There are two curves. One is the ideal curve, which gives us the maximum utility and privacy. The other one is the curve in practice. So in the system design, security design, we always strive for the curve which as close as to the ideal curve, right? And I think the Brian's work on blockchain is good direction towards this. Okay, so we have decentralized systems, tried to avoid a single point of failure, right? And the other aspect is we should have the regulations or code of conduct to ensure security. So IoT devices, a lot of manufacturers, they do not have the knowledge of producing a secure device, or they do not have the incentive to produce a secure device. So given that is the situation, then we should have regulations or industry code of conduct, just like the hygiene, food hygiene. Right? You go to the supermarket, you get a packed food, which gives you all the information, the percentage of the nutrition information. So you get an IoT device. That device should also give you the information on the security aspect, on how to make it secure, how to use it. Right? Well, the second part is defense in depth. Just this month, there was IEEE has an article. The title is Internet of Things is Internet of Terror. So it gave an example, a story. We have this device in the hotel room. We're going to put it to replace the TV remote control to function as a alarm clock, etc. So the designer says, I have so much limitations in my system design. I don't have, we cannot be too costly, and can we use a weaker security? So that article argues you cannot, because if you want to have secure systems, you cannot take any shortcut. So there must be multiple layers of design. Just like Brian mentioned, the security is a chain of links. So every link should be as strong as the chain. Well, the last part, this is my view. Now, if you look at some of the attacks in the past, for example, this Target credit card attack. This happened in the holiday season of 2012. And 70 million their customers' card information was stolen. Right? It was stolen because their systems, there was no proper segregation. The hackers, they stole the heater, ventilation, air conditioning system credential. Right? And from there, they installed skimming malware at the POS terminals. And as you swipe the card, the information is stolen. So is there any necessity to connect these two systems, heater, air conditioning systems, with your POS systems? Seems not, right? So for if you have anything IoT devices, if you want to connect to the internet, my suggestion is take be very careful. So if the connection is not necessary, probably you do not want to have the connection. And if the connection is, momentary connection is sufficient, you do not have to keep the device always connected. So that is, I think the IoT, in a way, I don't think it is a good idea to go to the extreme, everyone always connected on the internet with the network. All right? Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.